about that. Now let's talk a little boxing, my friend. We were just in Los Angeles for the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury press conference.
Press conference is going. I'm apparently banned from those. What happened over there?
Why'd you ban Pauli?
Because I said Deontay lost the first fight, which I thought he did. You guys didn't think so?
He got outboxed, but those 2 knockdowns, we understand why it's a tie.
Do you?
Yeah.
How? Mathematically, how's that a tie with 2 knockdowns?
Well, he got the knockdowns, the outboxing. You knew they were going to dance for a second time. You knew the rematch was bound to happen.
All right, but it's mathematics. I don't understand how it's still a tie. It's a good fight. I'm not going to tell you it wasn't a good fight.
So who's going to win this one?
I don't know. I tell you, it was hard to pick the first one. I think it's hard to pick the second one. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Fury wins the second fight. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Deontay knocks him out either. But both guys showed enough moments of success, I suppose, in the first fight to at least render themselves confident going into the second fight, and that's what we want.
How about this one then? Do you think the winner is going to win by a decision or a knockout?
I would say if it's Fury, it's going to be a decision. If it's Wilder, it's going to be a knockout. But that doesn't mean it won't be competitive throughout. I would assume Deontay's making some adjustments to prevent Fury from having his way during the rounds.
Those are words from Pauli Malignaggi. And as you guys heard, if you didn't hear, let me retort. Paula Malignaggi, of course, is a commentator for Showtime. And more than likely, on a normal basis, Paula Malignaggi is paid to be at certain events, certain boxing events, certain press conferences. He's there somewhere. But obviously, he's been banned by Deontay or by the team of Deontay Wilder. Okay? Because he said he thought Deontay Wilder lost. Now, I think Deontay this isn't a really big surprise, for 2 reasons. For one, Deontay Wilder doesn't like Paula Malignaggi anyway. He called him a straight up bitch. He didn't like him. He said that the commentators of Showtime was against him. And he supposedly been so loyal to Showtime, but it's the commentators that they hire. Okay, well, you are also an employee with Showtime. And when you don't get along with the employees or your coworkers, what type of work environment do you think that causes? A hostile one. So I think because Deontay Wilder now is on the platform fighting on Fox, those are the guy that's on Deontay Wilder's shit list, Paula Malignaggi, for having an opinion, just like Andre Ward along with others. Just like Tyson Fury's beef with Ellie Setback, because we know Setback is Jewish. And Tyson Fury, he says, hey, I ride with Palestine. And then, he kicked out Ellie Setback, from a press conference. That was a couple years now. It was about a year and about 14 months ago now, 15 months ago. But he kicked them out. And that was over, other differences and some, that was the main difference. This Ellie Setback was Jewish or something like that. And he said some things that, Fury didn't like, so he kicked him out. So, Paula Malignaggi looks like he's on that same list, or he's being treated the same way by Team Wilder. Okay, and what I say to this is it's not really a big deal because Deontay Wilder, he's getting like Tyson Fury apparently. He's deciding who and who's not invited. But a lot of fighters do that. If they got someone that they don't like, they can either kick you off their premises, out of their press conferences. That could happen if they don't like them. I wonder if Andre Ward's on that shit list for the things he said, because at once he said that I will not forgive Andre Ward for the things that he said. Wilder's hurt people. Wilder's emotional. Wilder, he's human. He will make decisions like, hey, you know what? Fuck Paula Malignaggi. He ain't coming to my press conference. But, me counterpunching that, it wasn't a lot of people at your press conferences. You're 2 of many. 2 of 2. You know what I mean? It wasn't many people there. The first one, we didn't know if there was 4 or 5 people there. We didn't hear any clapping. The second one was much more, but shit. But compared to a normal press conference, it was piss poor. So much more in the second press conference was piss poor in a regular press conference. So, you know, I mean, if anything, you might have needed Pauli there. But that just shows you that the disdain that Wilder has for Paula Malignaggi. Because, you know, Pauli's the guy, he calls it how he sees it, that he says, like, well, how the hell you think Deontay Wilder won that fight? It's mathematics. You do the math. 2 knockdowns is not enough, especially when a fighter's getting outboxed. You know, taking you guys down memory lane. Yeah, this is a Bill Cosby moment. You see, yeah. But there was a fight between a fighter, Ike Corte. He was a welterweight. Okay, he was a welterweight champion for a while till he had a unification with Oscar De La Hoya in 1999. Okay, they were both undefeated in 1999, him and De La Hoya. But the fighter was Ike Corte. He was fighting a guy named Jose Luis Lopez. Okay, this guy, if you're a hardcore boxing fan, you would know who he is, especially if you watched boxing at that time. He was regarded as like the David Lemieux of the welterweight division. Why do I say that? Because he was one of the hardest punching welterweights they had. In fact, Jose Luis Lopez went from there, and he was fighting all the way up at light heavyweight because he's from Durango, Mexico. Okay, and he was a surfer, and we don't really know. He kind of drifted off. Nobody really knows where he is today. Anyhow, backstory. Jose Luis Lopez was outboxed by Ike Corte pretty much the whole fight. Now, to be fair, this was more of a shutdown than Fury Wilder, okay? Because Ike Corte is known for his bazooka jab and his defense. So if he's like this, he's an orthodox fighter, he shoots the jab out, and it's like a right hand hitting you. That's why they call it a bazooka jab. He'll put it right back in position. And then whenever you would try to attack his defense, and he was a physically strong guy, so his defense was so strong and powerful, you know, it landed on the arms. It was almost like the Greek way of how they would protect themselves with their shields. It was like, you know, and his defense was, you know, impregnable. Okay. A lot of the times, but not all the time. And in that fight, Jose Luis Lopez was taking these lefts, and they were feeling like rights. And then one thing about Lopez, he never been down. He was one of those Danny Garcia's Canelo fighters. You know what I mean? That never been down to the canvas. Okay. Corte outboxed this guy the whole fight, except like once in the 4th, I believe, and the other one in the 11th, I believe. A knockdown happened in the 11th round, which Jose Luis Lopez tried to finish off Corte. But since Corte survived the rest of the 11th and all of the 12th, they ruled it a draw, people. But after really going back and looking at the scorecards, they called it, I believe it was a no contest, I believe. But saying this, like Theo Huxtable, what does this got to do with what we're talking about? Comparing that to Wilder Fury, it was a similar situation. It's definitely in the same ballpark because you had Tyson Fury winning those rounds. And then you had Deontay Wilder swinging and missing and couldn't hit the target. Okay, that was frustrating him. Okay, he couldn't do what he normally does by the time he had to do it. Okay, that's the danger of someone like Deontay Wilder that depends on his power, that believes in his power. And he believes in his power, but he doesn't really have anything else if that power fails. It's like the person that he doesn't knock out, he will lose to. Okay, and Jose Luis Lopez was one of those guys. He was one of those guys that he would definitely hurt you with that right hand. And it was funny. His right hand was his power punch, just like Deontay Wilder's. So that's another comparison in there that these guys had in common. But Jose Luis Lopez, he had a style where he was not aggressive. He just sit back and he would wait for whatever. You know, now when he threw the right counted. So this is what they did. They called it, it was a draw. It still was a draw. And it was a majority decision for Ike Corte. Okay. And the very next fight, Jesus, he fought Oscar De La Hoya. So that was a very, very tough year for him, because after De La Hoya, he fought Fernando Vargas and had a tough fight. And he lost by unanimous decision. And also with Vernon Forrest. But anyhow, it's one of those situations where you have two guys. One guy outboxes the guy, but the other guy has the knockdowns. And people can argue back and forth all they want. But to ban Pauli Malignaggi for having an opinion that he lost, he didn't say, I think he was a terrible fighter or a bad fighter. He didn't say that, hey, you need to work and practice. You know, he didn't say any of that. He didn't say anything derogatory besides what he felt. And he got banned for it. So, you know, those are the type of things that you deal with, or what people deal with that have an opinion against Deontay Wilder. You know, in fact, you can't even find the knockdown that Deontay Wilder was ever in. You can see like screenshots of the knockdown, but not the knockdown itself. No video included, nothing available, no way, no how. So there is certain things that people, try to ignore, like Terrence Crawford with the WBO and all that stuff. So yes, that happens over there, So it's bad. It's unfortunate for Paula Malignaggi. You guys tell me what you think about him being banned from the press conferences. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.